Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to go over how to assemble the Elecfreaks Microbit Starter Kit Experiment number 7 Temperature Sensor. Now first of all, before I go over this experiment, I do recommend skipping it. There is actually a temperature sensor that's built into the microbit, and in fact right now if I press the button A, I've got it programmed, so it'll scroll through and show me the temperature. Just let me turn this light down so you can see that. Press A. So currently it looks like it's 26 degrees Celsius in my house. That's probably a little warm. It's probably closer to about 22 degrees Celsius, which is around 75 degrees Fahrenheit. But the readout I'm getting from the sensor itself right now, we get here a 695.16. So we can see it's giving it an erroneous readout on that. So because of that, if you do want to use temperature, please use the one that's built into the microbit. You can skip ahead in the video and I'll show you how to program the A button to use the temperature sensor that's in the microbit. Otherwise, here we go. This is how you wire this up. So in order to wire up the temperature sensor, just like before, in the first column connected to the 3-volt pin, I've got the red wire that runs to the red rail. That runs across to this red wire, that goes down to this red rail, and that runs across. And then I've got this red jumper cable coming across to column number 15. On the ground side here, we've got the G. That's in column 1, goes down to my blue rail. That runs across. We got this black wire running up to this blue rail, and that gives me ground along the top. I've got a ground jumper cable that's coming here from the blue rail, and that's going into column number 17. Then in addition, on pin 0 on the board, which is column number 2, I've got a wire that goes from column 2 to column number 16. And if I turn this a bit, we can see the legs on that temperature sensor are in columns number 15, 16, and 17. Also notice the flat side of the temperature sensor is facing towards me. If you do put that in backwards, it will get super duper hot and so hot that it can burn you and possibly catch on fire. So once again, just make sure you're being really careful with this temperature sensor, and the microbit's got one built in. So let's head over to MakeCode and see how we can program that. All right, now that I'm in MakeCode, I'm going to go ahead and program to use the temperature sensor that's built into the microbit. I can go up to input here, and we're going to do that on an input from button A, which is a little bit different than the instructions you see on page 14 of your manual. After I have that button A, I'm going to go up to basic. I'm going to tell it to show a number. And then because we have an oval here, I can go into this input. Down here, we've got this temperature oval. I can drag that into here. And now if I press the A button on my microbit, it'll read out the temperature in degrees Celsius. Now let's go ahead and instead of using the forever loop like they do in the manual, we're going to do an input on button number B. And let's set this up, or say button letter B, and set this up so it matches what's in the manual to read the sensor. So I'm going to switch this to a B. The first thing it says is to set a value to. So setting a value means we have to have a variable. So I'm going to make a new variable. I'm going to call it VAL for value. I can then take this set value to 0 and drag that into the block here. Then it's got this big red oval thing that we see there. That's the darker red, which is down there under the pins. When I click on that, we can see this map variable here. I'm going to take that and drag that into the oval there. And it's saying map analog read pin 0. So I'm going to go back up to pins. We're going to do an analog read pin 0, and we're going to drop that into the map function up there. Then it has a 0, 1023, which is good, and then a 0 and a 3300 that goes here. Alrighty. The next thing it says is set tem to. So tem is another variable. I'm going to add an extra letter to that when I make it here, so make it variable, and we're going to call it temp for temperature, just because I think that's a little more clear than TEM. Then I'm going to set temp to, so I'm going to say here, set temp to. That goes below this block. And then it has this big purple oval with a minus sign. So I'm going to go to math. I've got a purple oval here with a minus sign, and I'm going to drag that down here to the 0. The first thing it says is set val, so I'm going to go down to variables. I'm going to find a val, and I'm going to put that in the first oval there. Then after that, it says 500 divided by 10. So I'm going to have to do what we call a nested function in here. I'm going to go back to math. I'm going to grab this division one. I'm going to drop that in there. So now I've got the minus. This is set to 500 in the manual. And then it says divided by 10. And if you look on page 14 of the manual, they do show you in red writing the actual math formula of how it works, so you could follow the proper order of operations. So in theory, now if I press my B button, it's not going to read it out yet because I need to go up to basic and say the show number, which is under that code in the manual. And then I'm going to show the value of temperature, which I'm going to drop right there. All right, so now if I press that B button, that should read out the temperature, and who knows, yours might work properly, but my one would seem to be reading out an erroneous value. So what I would have to do if I was actually doing this for a project is I'd have to figure out now how to calibrate that temperature sensor to get it to read out the correct temperature. So that's one of the reasons why I recommend that you use the one that's built into the microbit instead of doing this full experiment. Have a great day, and good luck on experiment number 7.